Operations for YMCA South Coast, and I'd like you to come along on a tour today. We're visiting 3 communities in the South End of New Bedford, in Dartmouth, and Wareham with our resident expert, Mark Fenton, who's a walking advocate for healthy communities. So come along.
Thanks for coming out on a crummy day. Thanks. If you've got a question or discussion as we're going, let's do it so everybody can hear. That's one of the goals of these trips. We've been doing them with a lot of, by the way, the pioneering healthcare communities and achieve teams across the country with good success. In other words, as a way to get out and start to look at the environment and remind ourselves of both challenges and opportunities, good stuff that's happening and stuff that you'd like to do better. So that's really the simple goal of what we're trying to do on our ride today. I'm talking just design in particular.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and what makes you feel pretty good about it?
Because it's got, grass, it's got play areas for the children. The sidewalks are in really, really good shape. There's parking between the buildings, so you don't have, a lot of danger as far as people on the streets.
Yeah, and indeed, the buildings are kind of pulled to the street. By putting the parking in between, you've created a street front that feels more like a neighborhood street front.
That's right.
Right? So now, what happens is the homes begin to overlook the sidewalk.
Right.
And one of the things that our public safety partners will tell us, when you blur the line between the public and the private realm, so it's not entirely clear where the front yard ends and where the sidewalk, the private, the public sidewalks are. It's harder for somebody to do something they shouldn't be doing out there, because that front porch, the light from that front door is cast onto the sidewalk. The eyes are cast onto it. So those little notices that you made, all of those, the play space in between the 2 buildings, lots of eyes on that play space. I hope that it's a much harder place for bad things to happen, or a much easier place for kids to be playing, because there's a lot of adult eyes on them.
Right.
So in one time period for the owner of the business to live right above it, and but what happens is, one of the ways we keep vibrant sort of retail districts is by the people who would patronize the district live right there. So you're not counting on people to drive there to keep these businesses healthy. Indeed, they live right above. Do the 1 to 10 thing, just out of curiosity, on a 1 to 10 scale, just that little stroll, what does this environment feel like to you? Don't grade it based on any one thing, just sort of your total feel. 10, this is a really great place to walk. 1, forget the weather. We can't do anything about that. Can you do that for me? Seriously. That's not something we control. So, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pass my hand over the group. I want you to shout your number when my hand comes over. Ready, go.
5,
6,
6, 7,
7.
6, 8, 5, 6.
All right, I heard 5 to 7. That's a pretty tight range. I didn't hear 10. I didn't hear 1. Why not any 1s? Why didn't anybody kill it? What were the things that were raising your score? Tell me some of the good things. A lot of restaurants. Sidewalks.
Hardware stores.
Stores, right? I saw 2 hardware stores. I saw some other little convenience place. Couple restaurants. So what we call that, by the way, hang on, what we call that in the scoring systems we build, we actually do grading systems, mix of uses. There's a variety of different things to do that are within walking distance that makes an environment rich. 2 more, 3. Right here, and then somebody would stand right here. My mother-in-law. We could extend out the curve all the way around. You could do easily on that big sweeping turn over there. You said that's what they're looking at. You could absolutely do it over there. Pull it out. At no impingement of vehicle movement. In fact, the one thing you might do is slow turning movements down, right? And now, when my mother-in-law goes to cross the street, take your time, dear, because you're not real fast. And you're going to go that way. What advantage does she get in crossing the street? Come on, help me out.
Less time in the street.
Less time in the street. That's exactly what the engineer will say. Her crossing time measurably drops, particularly if we put one on that side, too. She's out in the road for less time, and she's far more visible to oncoming traffic. When she stands right there, they can see her around those parked cars, around those parked cars. They know her intent to cross. Her survivability basically goes up. She may be that much more likely to walk here. You guys scored it, I think, accurately. It's not just, it's above a 5. This is reasonably appealing. Do you guys feel safe walking out here?
Yes.
Marcia, go ahead.
You're saying that it's a really rich neighborhood and everything. How do we get the whole community to change their mindset on thinking it's the South End, it's no good?
Right. Okay, good question. Hold that thought. Certainly there's no single answer to that, but But I think that's at the heart of the entire initiative's work here. Because what you really want, you want people to look at this as appealing and say, oh, you ought to go down to the Pequeños restaurant and you should be going to this place. Is great, and I'm perfectly happy if my kid's ball team has a game scheduled here, as opposed to, oh my God, we're not going, right? So A. B, we want people to say we should emulate this in any of our new and redevelopment efforts. Why don't we try to get back to the attributes that get this mixed? Neighborhood school, churches, shopping, restaurant, all right smack in the neighborhood. So every trip isn't by car. So that's arguably the question of the day, Martin. You just put voice to it right now. Perfect. On your way back, if you could do one thing to improve it, what would you do? I'm going to ask you that as you walk back down. So start walking back down right toward the bottom. Hold your thought, and then I'll quiz you. Having said that, it does make it a far improved bicycle route overall, and you can still put up one of those green bike route signs if overall this is a recommended corridor. If it holds together for other reasons, because there is striping up there. It's not a full bike lane, but it's improved for bicycling. There are many who would say, were this a little wider if you went to 8 feet here or even 6, that you could allow young kids, more skilled cyclists, to ride up here. In general, we discourage bicyclists on the sidewalks, but I got to tell you, it feels like this. I'm a local cop. I see a kid riding his bike here. I'm not writing him a ticket. I want him riding his bike here and the car not coming. You guys up for this? I'm going to imagine we're a teacher at this school, and it's after school. I've got an evening activity tonight, and in fact, I have to go get some paper and some supplies to Walmart where I can get it cheap, right? Why start the car? Might as well walk off. So let's be that person and really do it. You guys okay with this? The actual sidewalk itself had a lot of impediments, even though it existed. Right, one, go.
Crosswalks underwater.
Crosswalks were underwater.
The trees hide the sidewalk.
Yeah, so this walkway really could be scary, right? And even lighting it would make a difference. And in fact, I like the trees. They're trying to buffer the loading docks from the pedestrian area. I get that. But you could, you know.
Also buffering some safety.
Right, so you got to find that balance. Park and playground and community garden, okay? And then the other part, leave as grass. Don't develop it, just open it. Which can be overflow parking. So cars can have curb ramps. And for the 5 days a year, you need those extra 100 spaces. You can park there. But for the rest of the year, it's not asphalt generating.
We'll see.
No sidewalk connection. I mean, that's sinful. And somebody ought to sue them about it. What happened to your score that became the next segment down the road? So we stopped at CVS or wherever we stopped and talked for a minute. You went in the first place. Did you score again? And sometimes we do this exercise. I don't make you do your number again. I just say, did it go up? Is it the same or down? So put your hands. What represents what happened to your after the last stop? You said same. I see ups and same. All right. Why same?
What a hearty bunch, huh?
Oh, yeah.
We try to infuse in this project all across the country, because you're one of now dozens of communities that over several years have been launched down this path, is to get people beyond the notion of just scolding our citizens to be healthier. Just telling them, eat a better diet, get some exercise, and quit smoking. We've been doing that for 20 years, and what we know is we've been doing it to no avail. We have rising rates of obesity, and we're only beginning to start to turn the tide on tobacco. As far as fruits and vegetable consumption, for example, as a measure of good nutrition, we're not doing that well. And so we've recognized, and when I say we, the public health community at the national level, for example, the Centers for Disease Control, who are funders of this, or the Massachusetts Department of Health, which is actively involved in the Mass in Motion program, have recognized we have to go beyond just telling people what to do. Do this because it's good for you. And we have to actually begin to change the other factors that influence our day-to-day behavior. In fact, there's a growing world of research that says the environment around you, the social environment, and even the built environment has a lot to do with your daily behavioral choices.